Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Kiddushin daf Lamed, we're going to begin on Lamed Amud Aleph, about 7 lines from the top, by the 2 dots. Ad heichen chayv adam lomoid es b'nai Torah. Until how far does a person need to teach his child? So Amri Behuda Mishmul kagain Zvulun ben Dan, just like Zvulun ben Dan. Shalimdu Avi Aviv. His grandfather taught Mikra, Mishnah, Talmud, Halachos, Gadais. So we see that even a grandfather has to teach you a tremendous amount of Torah. Meisvei, I have a question. Lamdu Mikra and Lamdu Mishnah. V'yamarava Mikra Zutayra. The only chiyuv of a grandfather, l'chayra, is to teach his grandson Chumash, and that's it. So the Gemara answers, Kizvulun ben Dan, Velo Kizvulun ben Dan. Kizvulun ben Dan, that it's comparable to him that he taught his grandchild Torah. Velo Kizvulun ben Dan. The Il Hasa Mikra, Mishnah, Talmud, Halachos, Gadais. This man taught his grandson everything. The Il Hacha Mikra Avad. All you need to do is teach your grandchild Chumash, and that is sufficient. And Torah, Rashi says, is Velo Nevi Muksuban. So V'avi Aviv Mi Machayiv. Is it true that when it comes to a grandfather, he has a chiyuv to teach anything? Vosanya. The pasuk says, teach your children, but not your grandchildren. So it sounds like you're supposed to let not just your children, but also your grandchildren know. Just come to tell you the following drasha. Anyone who teaches his child Torah, it's like you taught your son, your grandchild, and all future generations, because Torah is nitzchias. So therefore, even though all you're doing is teaching your child Torah, but that will have a permanent effect on him that will continue in all future generations. But nonetheless, we have a kasha. How can you tell me that the grandfather has a chiyuv to teach Torah at all? So Gemara says, "Hu di'amrki haitani." He holds like the following: Desanya limana tamosam es b'neichem ainli el b'neichem. But in b'neichem and how do we know that grandchildren also have to learn Torah from their grandfather? Tamar b'datam b'necha v'necha. The pasuk is telling you have to teach your grandchild. So you can't matam b'neichem. So why does it say that there's limana tamosam es b'neichem? B'neichem v'lo b'noi seichem. It means you teach your sons, but there's no chiyuv of your daughters. Question 14. He'im nechol b'chiyuv. So is there when it says that there's an obligation to teach your child Torah, does that also include Nevi'im Ksuvim? So the answer just answers Eno Nechlal. If you look in Rashi, it says Torah V'lom Nevi'im Ksuvim, but not Nevi'im Ksuvim. So that was again part of the kasha. Question 1. So that was that. And now let's move on to question 1. You have to teach your children. Another pasuk says you teach your grandchildren. So harti the sasri, it's a stira. You have to teach your grandchild or not. So one shot is you don't have to teach your grandchildren at all. The idach Kra, the other pasuk is just come and tell you that anyone who teaches your child Torah, it's like you've taught all future generations. Or there actually is a chiyuv to teach your grandchildren Torah, and the original pasuk is just to exclude daughters. Ben Benai Torah, if you teach your grandchild Torah, Malavakasav Kiblam Har Sinai. It's as though it was Makabal from Har Sinai. Shnemar, Vadatam Benecha V'Nebenecha, V'Samach, and juxtaposed, the pasuk says, Yom Hashem Lefnei Hashem Achabachayrev, which is talking about by Har Sinai. Rabbi Chia Barab Ashki, Rabbi Yoshim and Levi the Shadi, Disna Areshe, that he took this thing on his head. Rashi says it's a sardine, a sheet. She'ena Roy Latifas Haroish. It's not really fit to normally cover your head with. He just threw some quick head covering over his head. Back in the Gemara, and he brought his child to the Beit Knesset. So he used to teach Torah in the shuls. So I'm like, Michael, hi, what are you doing? That you went so quickly, you didn't put on your proper head covering. Or Malay said, what? Mizuter, is it so small? The pasuk says, so if you have an opportunity to get to Har Sinai, are you going to first put on your scarf? You run there as quickly as you can. So that's what it is when it comes to teaching my child Torah. From that point on, he would not eat Umtsa, Rashi says, is basar mu'at b'kacholim. It's meat that's put on coals. Ad demakli nuka umoisve. That he would teach his child Torah, and he would also add an extra pasuk beyond that. Rabba bar Rav Huna, when he told he wouldn't eat this meat, adamaisi lianuka lebase midrasha, until he brought his kid to the base medrash. Amarav Safri Mishum ben Chananya Malich. What does it mean vishinantam levanecha? So what does it say vishinantam with the double lashain of nuns? So the Gemara says, Al tikri v'shinantam ella v'shilashtem. You should actually divide it into three. Adam shenaisav. A person should divide up his life into three parts. Shlishma mikra, shlishma mishnah, shlishma talmud. A third learning chumash, a third learning mishnah, a third learning gemara. You should divide your time up equally. Life is about balance. For the Gemara, miyodei kamachai. How do you know how long you're going to live? Well, it's tzricha liyomi, rather at least the days. So, what does that mean? The days. So, Taisa says, Perish b'kuntris yimei Shabbos, Klamer shnei yamim mikra, shnei yamim mishnah, shnei yamim gemara. Then I guess you get Shabbos off. But Nihira, for Taisa is the imkene kate havi matzil mivrach miyodei kamachai. You don't know what day you're going to die, so you're going to end up not dividing it properly. The nearly lefarish b'chol yom b'yom atzmi shalish. You should divide each of your days into thirds. We find that first we read Psukim, then we do Mishnah, we do Gemara. Rabbeinu Tam Pirish Anu Saimchan Ahadi Amenu Basanhedrin Bavel is Balula. Bavel means it's mixed up. B'mikra b'mishnah v'gemara, the Gemara is Bavel bol b'kulam. So if a person is learning Talmud Bavli, so you're actually Mekayim learning everything, because there isn't a daf that doesn't have Chumash or the Mishnah. If there's no Mishnah, it's the Gemara interpreting the Mishnah. Fine, so that's the answer. Lefikach nikri shainim seifrim shahayu seifrim kol ha'isa shabbatayra. So they used to count all the letters. Shahayu aimrim vav de gachin chatzin shel oisiyos shel sefer Torah. If you look at the middle letter is a vav, and a vav is a chibur. It's an attachment, it's a connection. Darash chetzon shel tevas. Darash is the middle word. V'tigalach shel psukim. Pasuk v'tigalach is the middle pasuk in the Torah. Interestingly enough, in this Masechta, I think it's on Daf. It would be amazing. It was Daf Lamed. I think it's Daf Lamed. Ches is the middle of Shas, so it's pretty close. Yechar semena chazir miyair ayin diyair chetzon shel tehillim. So the ayin in the word Ya'ir is actually the halfway letter of Tehillim. So you have a Vav of the Torah, and Tehillim is an ayin. That pasuk is in the middle of all psukim. Boy Rav Yosef, Vav, the Gachain, this middle letter, Mehai Gisa. So is it on this side or that side? I guess it's not mamish like in the middle, like 1, 2, 3. It's 2, the mean, but rather it's possible that it's an even amount of letters. So then, is it on this side or that side? So Armalei Nesa Sefer Torah the Imninhu. It's like, don't ask such a question, because the answer is you bring a Sefer Torah and count every single letter in all the Torah. Didn't he say, well, you have to count basically every single letter in the Torah? It's like shkoyach. You guys are experts in missing and added letters that should be there, should be read. Anan will be kiyanan. We're not experts. So therefore, it's not going to help if we count. Maybe you're supposed to count certain letters and not letters. Boy Rav Yosef v'tigalach mahagisa mahagisa v'tigalach, the middle pasuk. Amaybai psukim limnuye. You should be able to at least count the psukim. The psukim nami will be kiyan. No, we're not experts in psukim either. The chiyas ravacha barada amar merava paskila haikra will twas psuki. The following pasuk could actually be divided into 3. B'yom Hashem al Moshe hinenochi ba'alecha ba'av ha'anan. Okay. Tanurban. Chamesh is 11 mishmanim miyasa shmanim psukim havi psuki sefer Torah. So there's 5,888 psukim in the Torah. Yasol of Tehillim Shemaina. Tehillim, which there's more of in Tehillim 8. And there's 8 less in Divrei Yomim. Obviously, the symbolism of 8. There's really 8. That's the difference. Tehillim is only 150 chapters. Sefer Torah is so much larger. Obviously, you have to understand exactly what that means, but there's a symbolism of 8. 8 more, 8 less. Why 8? 8 is l'malam and a teva. So, the question is it really talking about the exact numbers? The Torah should be sharp in your mouth. If someone asks you a shayla, game, you shouldn't stutter or be unsure. The Torah will then afterwards tell him, you should answer immediately. As the pasuk says, the famous drasha on Lamed Amud Beis, you should say to wisdom, you are my sister. What does that mean, you're my sister? So Rashi says, if someone would ask you, are you allowed to marry your sister? You don't have to hesitate. Everyone knows the answer is no. That's how much clarity you should have when it comes to any shayla, that you should be able to answer just as fast. The Omer, and furthermore it says, Kashreim al etzbosecha, you should tie it to your fingers. Kasveim al luach libecha, and you should write it on a tablet into your heart. The Omer, furthermore, the pasuk says, Kechitzim biyad gibor, just like arrows in the hands of the strong. Ken b'nei hanurim, so too are the nurim. Who are the nurim? Rashi says, Talmidiv shel adam akriyim banav. These are the students of man who are his children. The Omer, and furthermore, another pasuk, it says, Chitzi gibor shenunim, that the arrows of the sharp arrows of the mighty ones. The Omer, another pasuk, Chitzecha shenunim, regarding these sharp arrows, Amim tachtecha yiplu, nations will fall. The Omer, another pasuk, Asher Gever Asher Mili Es Ash Pasai Mehim, praiseworthy is a person who is able to fill his quiver with them. Lo Yevoishu, they should not be embarrassed. Ki Yadabru Es Oivim Bishar, because they're able to speak to their enemies in a gate. So my es oivim b'shar. What is these enemies in the gate? So Amar Rabbi Chi Barabba Afil Avu B'nai. Even a father and a son. Harava Tamidu, a student, a teacher. Shaiskim B'Tayr B'Sharecha. They're learning together. Nasim oivim zed. There's appearance that they hate each other. The way they're arguing. There's a big kol ram of Tayra. V'Einam Zozim Misham Ad Shenasim Ohavim zed. Shenemar Es Vahei B'Sufa. Not Turk B'Sufa El B'Saif. At the end, they love each other. Why? Because each party is not arguing because they're angry at the other person. They're arguing because they want to get to the bottom line. They want to find the truth. And therefore, once the truth is reached, whether it's your opinion or mine or somewhere in the middle, we're going to love each other because ultimately that was the goal. And sometimes the only way to be able to get to the truth is when you have two parties that are arguing with one another, but in a respectful manner, that even though it looks like they're enemies, but the truth is they really care deeply about one another. Tanoban. The pasuk says v'samtem, so samtam. It actually could have to do with this remedy. Nimshal Torah kasam chayim, that the Torah is like a medication. Mashal adam shehikas b'nai makgedoya, hurt himself badly. V'yaniach lo ritia al makasu, you put a bandage on. V'yamar lo b'ni. Kolzman sheretia zu al makascha, so long as you have this bandage on your body, achol mashanoscha, shema shahanoscha, rechaytz ben b'cham ben mesainin. You can eat what you want, drink what you want, you can bathe in any way, you're protected. V'yenat tamisar, you don't have to be afraid. Harvi'imat ma'avira, harihi malwa noimi. However, if you remove it, then you're going to have noimi. Rashi says simachim, boils. Kacha Kadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael Benai Barasi Yitzir Hara Barasi Loy Torah Tavlin. I created the Torah, created the Yitzir Hara, and the Torah is a Tavlin, which is very interesting. Tavlin doesn't sound like it takes it away, but it's a spice. Almost spicing something. You can look at it two ways. Either a Tavlin Pashup shot is that it removes the potency of the thing, or it enhances it. It enhances it. So that's an interesting way of looking at it. How is that the right language? Okay. If you learn Torah, you don't have to worry. So if you do good, says Rashi, Tativ is lekach toy, which is Torah, seis, Says Rashi, Tisnase al Yitzrucha, you'll be elevated above your Yitzhahara. If you don't learn Torah, you're going to be subject to the Yitzhahara. That the sin is going to pounce upon you. When it comes to all transactions, says Rashi, Shel Yitzhahara ba'adam l'hachatiyai, it's going to be against you. Shnemar ve'elecha teshukasai, and upon you will be his desire. V'imata roitza ato moishaboy. Even though it may be difficult, you should know you can conquer it. You are in control, if you wish. Shnemar v'yata timshaboy. Tanaban. Kashi Yitzhahara, so difficult is the Yitzhahara, she'afil yoitzer kara. Even Hashem himself called it bad. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, "Ki yitzer lev ha'adam ra minarav." The Yitzhahara is bad. Amar Yitzchak yitzer shel adam mischadish lo b'chol yoyim. It renews itself every day. Shenemar rak kol hayoyim. Yom Rav Shimon Levi yitzer shel adam miskaber lo b'chol yoyim. It gets stronger. Mevakash hamisa. The Yitzhahara doesn't like you. Wants to kill you. Wants to destroy you. Shenemar sefer rashel atzadik umavakash hamisai. Kadosh Baruch Hu Yisroi. It's an unbelievable line. If Hashem wasn't there to help us, in Yachalo, we wouldn't be able to withstand it. We need Hashem's help. Shnemer Elokim lo yazvenu biyado. Don't forsake us. Tana Rabbi Shmuel B'ni, my child. Im pagabacham nuvel zeh. If this repulsive, disgusting thing, namely the Yitzhahara, comes after you, Moshchehu beis medrash. You should do Mashicha. Mashicha is a kinyan. You should acquire it and conquer it and drag him into the beis medrash. Im Evan hu, if the Yitzhahara acts like stone, nimuach, it'll melt. V'im barzel mispaitit. If it's like metal, it'll be able to shatter. It'll bubble up and shatter. Shenemar haloi kod davarai ke'esh no Hashem. The Torah is like fire. Uke patish yifaitit selwa, just like a very strong hammer can smash a rock. Im Evan hu nimoyach shenemar hoikol samul cholamayim. Anyone who's thirsty, go to Torah, to water. Yamar avanim shachachu mayim. The stones will be dissolved in water. Lasir isha. So we said one of the requirements is that the father must make sure that his son gets married. It says you should take wives, and they'll have sons and daughters. I can understand your son biyadai. How is it in your daughter's hands to get married? It's the man who does the Maisa Kiddushin. So how could you do something in order to promote that your daughter's going to get married? How can you do that? Because you need a man to do the Kiddushin. Unbelievable line. Nitin lo mide, give her things, give her beautiful clothings, and give her things that make her look physically attractive. So literally that men will jump upon her. In other words, they'll jump at the opportunity to be able to be married to her. So therefore, it is in your yad, it is in your hand. Your daughter can get married if you, as a father and a mother also, of course, is involved in the process of raising your child properly so that they are going to be appealing to a man to marry them. It's an unbelievable pshat. You have to teach them a trade. The pasuk says, Chayim, life, which is referring to Parnasa, im isha, asher ahavta, that the woman you love. Im isha mamishi. So we're talking about when it comes to Chayim, which is Parnasa, and we're talking about a woman when it says isha. So kashem shechayim lahasiu isha kachayim lemdu umnois. Just like you have to teach, you have to marry your child to a woman. He has to get married, so you have to teach him a trade. So if you want to say that when it says Isha, it's referring to Torah, so then you have to teach, just like you have to teach Torah, you have to do an umnos too. With the amazing pasuk, it says, Re'ei Chayim, there'll be life im Isha, with a woman, asher hav, that you love. So a woman is connected to Parnasa. Clearly, and this is obvious, that first of all, you can marry a woman who also has skill sets to be able to make financial contributions to the home, but also you want to have a woman who's physically responsible, not someone who just all she does is want to spend money and it's not thinking about the family. Also, you have to teach them about to swim. So my taima chayuse hiu. It's considered to be life, right? So that's important. It's also important because you don't want someone to drown. So you're teaching life skills. If you don't teach them a trade, they're going to steal. So it's like you're teaching them how to steal. If you taught them a trade or a business. Says Rashi, Iska, for them to do business. You haven't taught them a livelihood. Rabbi Yehuda, you actually teach them a trade. If he runs out of merchandise, he'll end up stealing. So if all you're doing is teaching him business, that may not always work. So teaching him an actual trade may be best. Okay, question 2. Heichen kosa b'Torah maimer chazal barasi yitzahar barasi Torah tavlan v'im atem oiskim b'Torah ein atem nimsarim biyadai. So where do we see this? We see this by haloi im tetiv seis, right? And then if not, lepesach chatas roivates. Okay. Let's see if there's another question popping up here. Question TA27, indeed. So the answer is iska, right? So teaching him not a physical trade, but just business skills, which in itself is certainly something of value, but nonetheless, that may not be enough, because if he runs out of the ability to engage in business and schayra and merchandise, he may end up still engaged in stealing. Question TB28. So how do we read these psukim? So it says, so either comes to tell you, Kol Hamalamed, let me make sure I said this correctly, 28. Shekol Malamed has been B'nai Torah, Malavakosav Ki'u Kabul Mahar Sinai. Okay. I wrote something else also, but that's not what we're looking for. That was TB 28. So let me find that over here. So actually, let me see this, a different piece. So it says somewhat drush of it. So we learn out from there again. Kol hamalamed as ben b'noi Torah malavakosav ki'u kabul mahar Sinai. TB 28. Okay. All right, weiter. See the 2 dots. Kol mitzvah sa'aval ben. So my kol mitzvah sa'aval ben. What is that part of the Mishnah? So we're talking, the ratio of the Mishnah was obligations a father has to the son. So obviously this is going to have to do with a child to the parent. So all the obligations a father has to a child. So nashim chayavus. So it says that women, mothers, are obligated. Only the father has a chiyuv to do bris milah and pidyon ben and all these other things, not the mother. So Rabbi Yehuda Hachikamer, this is how you read it. Kol mitzvah ha'av hamutelos al ben. Any mitzvah which is connected to the son, that the son has to do with the father. Lasos aviv echad noshim ve'echad noshim chayavin. Namely, when it comes to the mitzvah of kivad av'aim, not only is it an obligation on the child, namely the son, but also on the daughters. Tanino hadatonabanan, we also have support to this. Ish, the pasuk says you have to fear your parents. Ish, ainli ela ish. Ish sheminayin, had also a girl, a daughter. Kishoimer tira'u harikan shnam. So they become ish. So why does it say ish? Ish sibing biyad lasos. Ish ain't sibing biyad lasos. Why men always have the ability to do it, but not always a woman. Because the rishus of others is upon her. Namely, Rashi says, Bala. In other words, if there's a conflict between her father, her parents, and her husband, she's supposed to side with her husband. However, when it comes to a boy, he always is supposed to honor his parents no matter what. But again, obviously, but typically speaking, there's no major difference between a son and a daughter. They both have to honor their parents. Nis Garsha Shneim Shavim. When she gets divorced, they're both equal because she no longer is under the or she's not connected to her husband anymore, so therefore she still has to honor her parents just like her brother. Tanuban. Nemar, the pasuk says, "Kavanas haviyacha v'asimecha." Nemar, Kavanas Hashem mehoincha, from your wealth. So hishra kasav kavod av aim l'kavod amakim. So we find that they're supposed to honor Hashem and honor your parents. They're similar. Nemar ish ima vavi tiro. You're supposed to fear your parents. And Nemar es Hashem alkecha tiro. You have to also fear Hashem. Again, he's a hishva kasav moira av aim l'moris hamakim. We compare fearing your parents to Hashem. Nemar mekal avavi'ima mos yomos. If you curse your parents, you die. Nemar ish ki kalol kavan nasachetoi. Also, you're not to curse Hashem. So So again, obviously we're talking about over here not a bracha. This is euphemism. This is lashon sagi nahar. It's talking about cursing. Obviously, you can't hit God. The truth is that all of them, in certain regards, are considered to be as partners. Adkan.